Assembly votes were loud and direct, focusing on critical decisions for the city. However, not everyone appreciated Athenian democracy. The philosopher Plato, for instance, found the system barbaric. In Book 6 of the Republic, Plato compared governing a state to navigating a ship. He argued that just as a navigator must master the seasons, stars, winds, and other elements, a ruler must possess specialized knowledge and wisdom to lead effectively. Plato questioned how a randomly chosen member of the Council of 500 could contribute meaningfully to governance, and instead proposed the concept of a philosopher-king, a ruler dedicated to wisdom, logic, and justice. Plato envisioned an ideal ruler, a philosopher-king, who would dedicate his life to understanding justice and guiding society with wisdom. Such a leader, Plato believed, would be the true navigator of wisdom. In the Republic, Plato famously stated that society's troubles would never end until either philosophers became rulers or those in power embraced philosophy. Only then could political power and wisdom unite, paving the way for a just society. However, Plato's idea faced a critical flaw. Every leader tends to view themselves as the wisest, the most just, and the most capable. From figures like Qin Shi Huang in China to Lavataranas of the Hittite Empire and Siddhartha Gautama of the Kingdom of Magadha in India, leaders often saw their decisions as infallible. Siddhartha Gautama, a prince in 500 BCE, epitomized a life of indulgence. Within his palace, Siddhartha was surrounded by opulence, with access to endless jewels, wealth, and luxury. His life seemed perfect, free from want or suffering. However, Siddhartha's perspective changed when he stepped outside the palace for the first time. What he encountered shocked him: a dying old man on the street. This sight forced him to confront the harsh realities of life. Suffering and death were inevitable parts of the human experience. Like Gilgamesh before him, Siddhartha realized that human existence was far from ideal. Determined to find answers, he abandoned his life of luxury to seek enlightenment. Siddhartha studied with spiritual teachers and meditated for years, searching for profound truths about life. After 6 years of intense reflection, he sat beneath a fig tree, determined to find enlightenment. This state of inner peace involves transcending ego and connecting with a universal consciousness or divine essence. Enlightenment is not a fixed state but a continuous process of growth. Under that fig tree, Siddhartha attained enlightenment, becoming the Buddha, or awakened one. He spent the rest of his life traveling, sharing his insights and guiding others toward liberation. Around the same time, Darius I of Persia sought to expand his empire, continuing the conquests of his predecessors. In 490 BCE, Darius launched an invasion of Greece, arriving at Marathon, a city 26.2 miles from Athens. The Persian army, numbering 20,000, faced an Athenian force of only 10,000. Despite being outnumbered, the disciplined Greek hoplites defeated the Persian infantry by targeting their flanks before turning on the center. The battle ended with heavy Persian losses: 6,400 soldiers compared to only 192 Athenians. The remaining Persians fled by ship. After the victory, an Athenian messenger named Theodippides ran the 26.2 miles from Marathon to Athens to announce the triumph. His exclamation of victory inspired the modern marathon. However, Persia was not finished. Darius died under mysterious circumstances, and his son, Xerxes I, inherited the throne. Determined to fulfill his father's ambitions, Xerxes launched another invasion in 480 BCE, bringing over 100,000 soldiers to conquer Greece. At Thermopylae, Spartan King Leonidas led a force of 7,000 to defend a narrow mountain pass against the Persian army. Aware of the overwhelming odds, Leonidas devised a daring plan. Instead of waiting for the Persians to attack, he ordered a surprise assault on their camp, disrupting their formation. Although initially successful, the Greek forces were eventually overwhelmed as the Persians regrouped and surrounded them. Leonidas and his men fought valiantly but ultimately succumbed to the massive Persian force. Despite the courage and determination of Leonidas and his Spartan soldiers, they were ultimately defeated as the Persian forces broke through the Greek defenses at Thermopylae. However, the tides of war shifted at the Battle of Salamis, a decisive naval engagement. The Persian fleet, consisting of 500 triremes, faced the Greek smaller fleet of 300 triremes. Although the odds were against them, the Athenian general Themistocles executed a brilliant strategy. He lured the Persian fleet into the narrow straits of Salamis, where their larger numbers became a disadvantage. The Greeks launched a fierce attack, cornering the Persian ships and securing a critical victory that changed the course of the war. Despite the defeat at Salamis, the Persians remained determined to conquer Greece. Xerxes returned to Persia, leaving his general, Mardonius, in charge of the remaining forces. After failed diplomatic efforts, the Persians launched another attack, this time targeting Plataea. In response, 30 Greek city-states united to field an army of 110,000 hoplites. Although smaller than the Persian force, estimated at 150,000 soldiers, the Greeks fought with strategy and resolve. The Greeks effectively used their terrain to their advantage, positioning themselves on a slope to neutralize the Persian cavalry and archers. The battle was intense, with both sides displaying immense ferocity. Ultimately, the Greeks triumphed, inflicting heavy losses on the Persians and killing Mardonius. The Battle of Plataea marked the end of the Greco-Persian Wars, ensuring the independence of the Greek city-states and eliminating the Persian threat to Greece. Following the Persian Wars, ancient Greece entered a golden age of culture and innovation. With the absence of war, Athens thrived, constructing architectural marvels such as the Parthenon, a temple dedicated to Athena. Situated on the Acropolis, a prominent hill overlooking Athens, the Parthenon symbolized the city's wealth and cultural dominance. Even today, it stands as a testament to Athenian achievements. During this period, Greek theater flourished. The state sponsored prominent poets to create plays for the city Dionysia, a festival honoring Dionysus, the god of theater and fertility. This cultural renaissance produced renowned playwrights such as Sophocles, Aeschylus, and Aristophanes. However, political tensions grew as Athens expanded its influence through the Delian League, while Sparta formed its own Peloponnesian League. Rivalry over control of Corinth escalated into war in 434 BCE, sparking naval battles like the Battle of Sybota and the Battle of Pylos. A temporary peace was negotiated in 421 BCE, but it proved short-lived. Athens set its sights on Sicily, launching an ambitious military expedition. Initially, the campaign saw success as Athens formed alliances with Sicilian cities and achieved minor victories. However, disaster struck when Alcibiades, one of Athens' greatest naval generals, was recalled to face charges of sacrilege. Without his leadership, the Athenian expedition faltered. The city of Syracuse, heavily fortified and prepared for a siege, resisted Athenian advances. Reinforcements from Sparta bolstered Syracuse's defenses, allowing them to exploit Athens' lack of supplies and the onset of disease among its forces. The Syracusans launched surprise attacks and ambushes, gradually weakening the Athenians. After months of grueling combat, the Athenian fleet suffered a crushing defeat, marking a significant turning point in the Peloponnesian War. In a devastating defeat, Athens suffered the loss of thousands of soldiers, many of whom were killed. while others were captured and enslaved. A decade later, Athens fell to the Spartans, marking the end of the Golden Age of Greece. Both Athens and Sparta emerged from the conflict significantly weakened, unable to regain their former power. This created a void, paving the way for a philosopher-king to rise and reshape the world. Meanwhile, in the East, the Zhou dynasty's long rule of 800 years came to an end, deemed by the heavens as having lost the mandate of heaven. This ushered in the chaotic Warring States period, 474 to 221 BCE. During this time, Confucius introduced a new philosophy known as legalism. Legalists believed that humans were inherently selfish and driven by their own interests, requiring a strict system of rewards and punishments to maintain order. Confucius advocated for a powerful ruler to enforce laws, control the military, economy, and society, ensuring stability through unwavering authority. In Mesoamerica, the Zapotec civilization began to flourish in the Oaxaca region of present-day Mexico. Their capital, Monte Albán, was strategically built on a mountaintop overlooking the Oaxaca Valley. This city was home to a ruling elite that presided over a hierarchical social structure, including middle-class artisans and lower-class farmers. The Zapotecs were renowned for their innovative agricultural techniques, particularly in cultivating maize and other crops that sustained their communities during droughts and environmental challenges. They also developed an early writing system composed of symbols and glyphs to represent words and ideas, alongside an advanced calendar based on 260-day and 365-day solar cycles. In 356 BCE, in the city of Pella in the Kingdom of Macedon, one of history's greatest military leaders, Alexander the Great, was born. Alexander was the son of King Philip II and Queen Olympia, but his education under Aristotle, one of the most influential thinkers of all time, shaped his extraordinary capabilities. Aristotle, regarded as the father of logic, laid the foundation for biology, taxonomy, and the scientific method, which is still taught today. He also wrote extensively on philosophy, ethics, and art, profoundly influencing the world. Alexander was only 20 years old when his father was assassinated in 336 BCE. Despite his young age, his exceptional education and leadership abilities enabled him to consolidate his family's power and embark on a campaign of conquest. When the Greek city of Thebes revolted against his rule, Alexander marched 240 miles in just 14 days. Upon their refusal to surrender, he razed Thebes, killing 6,000 inhabitants and selling the survivors into slavery. This brutal demonstration of power intimidated the remaining Greek city-states, allowing Alexander to pursue his ambitions unchallenged. Turning his attention to Persia, Alexander faced King Darius III at the Battle of Issus in 333 BCE. In a decisive victory, Alexander defeated the Persian forces, forcing Darius to flee. He then captured key cities, including the strategically important port of Tyre, after a determined siege. In 331 BCE, Alexander met Darius again at the Battle of Gaugamela near the Tigris River in modern-day Iraq. Despite being vastly outnumbered, Alexander's superior tactics secured a monumental victory, solidifying his dominance over Persia. Alexander secured a decisive victory over the Persian army using superior tactics and mobility, shattering their forces and forcing Darius III to flee once again. Following this triumph, Alexander captured the Persian capital of Babylon, gaining control over much of Mesopotamia. He pressed on eastward, winning significant battles in the territories of modern-day Iran and Afghanistan. In 330 BCE, Alexander seized Persepolis, a city of immense wealth and cultural significance. However, his ambitions did not end there. He sought to expand further east, eventually crossing the Hindu Kush mountains into India. Despite his successes, Alexander's troops grew weary of the continuous battles and refused to advance further. Reluctantly, Alexander turned back. Meanwhile, in the Indian subcontinent, a new power was rising, the Mauryan Empire. At its height, this empire spanned vast regions of India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan. However, this expansion came at a significant moral cost for its ruler, Ashoka the Great. In 261 BCE, after succeeding his parents, Ashoka waged a bloody war against the kingdom of Kalinga. The conflict claimed over 100,000 lives, leaving Ashoka deeply remorseful and unable to reconcile with the immense loss he had caused. Seeking redemption, Ashoka turned to Buddhism. Under his leadership, the Mauryan Empire became renowned for promoting Buddhist teachings and nonviolence. Ashoka issued edicts engraved on rocks and pillars throughout his empire, advocating principles like kindness, religious tolerance, and the abolition of slavery. These values sharply contrasted with those of Alexander in the West, where dying heroically in combat was celebrated as the ultimate honor. For Alexander, a farmer's death was anonymous, while a warrior's sacrifice was immortalized. Alexander himself died at the age of 32 in Babylon, a few years after his campaign in India. Despite his early death, Alexander had spread Greek ideas, influenced by his teacher Aristotle, throughout his empire, laying the groundwork for the spread of Western culture. However, after Alexander's death, his empire proved unsustainable. His generals quarreled over succession, each vying for power. This infighting led to the eventual fragmentation of the empire. By 323 BCE, after years of senseless conflict, Alexander's empire was divided among his generals into three major kingdoms: the Ptolemies in Egypt, the Seleucids in the east, and the Antichonids in Greece. In Egypt, Ptolemy, one of Alexander's generals, ushered in a period of prosperity inspired by his former leader's vision. He established the Library of Alexandria, a hub for intellectual and cultural exchange. Scholars from around the world gathered there, fostering advancements in knowledge and thought that would leave a lasting legacy, with philosophers like Plato and Aristotle forming the foundation of Western intellectual traditions. Meanwhile, Seleucus, another of Alexander's generals, controlled Babylon, a melting pot of Greek, Persian, Indian, and Central Asian cultures. Although the Seleucid Empire incorporated diverse influences, Seleucus favored Greek ideas and language. Under King Antiochus III, 223 to 187 BCE, the Seleucid Empire reached its zenith, stretching from modern Turkey to Pakistan, making it one of the largest empires of the time until the rise of Rome. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you can stay updated with our latest videos.